All right, everyone. So what I want to do right now is just a very brief look at the graph editor, which we are going to go over in the very near future in much more detail. Lots and lots of cool things to do with it. You're basically going to live in there now that you've started animating. However, because of the nature of our early assignments, there are a couple things you need to be able to do kind of right away in here. So I want to go over briefly what it does, what it means, etc. So I have this mug right here. There's a few things that have animation, but the mug is what I have selected, and whatever you have selected shows up. And we go to Windows, Animation Editor, Graph Editor, and it blows up a little bit too big. So we're going to shrink this down. I'm going to try, actually I lied. I'm going to turn off my outliner. You can turn off your outliner by doing this. And we normally use this for view, that's what I've been going in. But you can actually click this right here, and it'll give you two windows. And my perspective view came in over here, which is great. I like it there. And then under this view, which is a side view, front view, whatever, I can actually go to panels and say, instead of these cameras, which are up here, I could say panel graph editor. And it's the same graph editor that you bring up if you go Windows, Animation Editor, Graph Editor. If you have multiple monitors, go for broke, have one on one monitor, one on the other. That's how I like it. But if you only have one monitor to work with, if you're at school, then this might be better in terms of being able to see what the heck is going on. It does mean that this view is a little askew, so just be aware of that. But this is your graph editor. And so anything you have selected will show up there. And then you can will show up in here. So I can select multiple things in here by holding down Shift. And then I can click off, and then I'll only see the one thing that I have selected. So I selected the 4 items that had animation on them. So cup handle, the one gear, the other gear, and the globe. And you can see they have different looking curves on them. And once you get used to looking at animation, you'll know what's going on even just by looking at the curve. And yes, this is a curve even though it's a straight line. It's a linear curve. They tell you right here, for example, it's rotate Z, rotate Y, translate X. So this one's a little bit different. You can also see that these are curved, and this is not. I had different animation settings at the time, right? Windows, settings, preferences, and then the animation curves I set up differently. The in and out curves. That refers to how the line goes into this dot, into this key, how it leaves this dot. When we did that, those settings in that other thing, default in tangent, default out tangent. This is the in tangent. This is the out tangent. If you select it, you can actually see it. If you click these, see those lines? Those are the tangents. If you're thinking to yourself, wow, this looks exactly like Illustrator or a vector program, you're correct. It's the same idea. All right. Now, a straight line means that something is going the exact same speed the whole time. And wouldn't you know it, if we watch the animation, that mug is traveling at the exact same speed the whole time. That's what linear curves look like. Any other curve, any other type of curve, is speeding up and slowing down. Speeds up and then slows down. And you can know that by the steepness of the curve. Shallow curve is going slow. And then as it changes, it speeds up. Steeper curve is going fast. And then as it flattens back out, it's slowing down again. And we're going to get into this more later. But one of the things we need to know is that these are not going at a constant speed, and maybe I want them to. The assignments we have coming up, for example, things are just going to be moving the whole time. And so having a huge, like right now, there is almost no constant speed. Like this little tiny bit in here, it's going the same speed, but the rest of it is either speeding up or slowing down, and we don't want that. But I did the animation before I went into my settings. So it's not going to change from that. I can change it in here. And this is one of the things you'll be doing a lot in the graph editor. But I can drag select one of these keys. I just drag select it to select it. And these are the tangent types up here. We'll get into most of them later, but the ones you need to know are flat and linear. They both look like straight lines. Flat is flat, it's horizontal, and linear looks like that. And if I select the keys, and make them linear, you're going to see that the one gear moves at exactly constant speed, and the other one still slows down. So I can go to the other one, drag select the whole thing, tell it to have linear tangents, right? It should hover, when you hover over this, it should say linear tangents. If not, I believe Windows settings, preferences, UI elements, display tool clips. This is pop-up help. Keep this on. This is all these little things that are telling you, like, this is auto tangents, spline tangents. I don't even know how these are because there's only certain ones that we use. But it tells you what they are. So in case you can't remember which one is linear, it's this one because it tells me right there. So on any one of these, I can change these. I can drag select both keys. This is the key that you're changing the setting on, and set it to linear tangents. And if you do that and you're like, oh no, it was supposed to be flat, and you can just change it back to what it was before. But this allows us to kind of change whether there's ease ins and ease out on our animation like pretty quickly. And we're going to go into ease in and ease out like later on, and how to really get into the details of it later on. But suffice it to say that we're able to, at least change it right now. Oh, I guess I should be looking at the wrong. There we go. These two. At least we can change some things right now in our graph editor. Another thing I want to go over in the graph editor that you'll definitely be using this for pretty quickly is changing the timing. Yes, you can hold down shift and drag across here and then middle mouse drag. Ugh, like this is the worst place to work. I'm sorry. So what we can do instead is we can move these keys. I can drag select these keys, and you see I click them, my mouse changed. Now there is a way, I think. Let me see. Oh, nope. Didn't want to do that. Give me 1 second. Sometimes it takes a second to remember the hotkeys. So we can move these keys so that we change the timing. So if I move these this way, you see that red slash mark moved. I gave this a longer amount of time. So for example, if I wanted to, am I on the keys? Let's find out. There we go. If I wanted to have these spin for much, much longer, so I want to spin these around for, I don't know, 1200 degrees or whatever, and I right click and I say key selected. Like, yeah, that's great. I definitely have some extra stuff selected. Stand by. There we go. There we go. What is happening? Oh, the globe. Oh, I still have the globe selected. I had extra things selected. I thought that was weird. It's not just selecting them in here. You have to select them properly out here. There we go. I definitely don't want those at 1200. That's some silly nonsense. There we go. I can change this one to 1200, key it. I can change this one to negative 1200. So sorry. Then select these again. You can see this rescales. I can zoom in and out just like the other things if I need to. I can pan, just like in here. So it rescaled based on what I did. But now this is gonna be moving really fast. Too fast. I want to move this key, but like I don't want to select it in here. That stinks. I can drag select these in here and move them, right? To get them to take longer. If I want them to move without moving the values, what I have to do is hold down shift and then click them. And it'll constrain the values and it'll give me more time. So I now made this take longer. So if you go the same amount of spinning while taking longer, it moves slower than it did before. And so I can have them spin for longer. And so this graph editor is really, really nice for editing when your keys are. It's much easier than editing it down here. For right now, I would still stick with editing the values through the channel box, like how much we want this to rotate, or in the case of this mug, like, I can change the timing of this. I can move this here and I hold down shift and I drag it, and so it changes the timing so that it goes faster across the thing because it's taking less time to get there. But in terms of where the there is, I could move it in here, but we're not there yet. I'd rather move it in here just to like, it's more intuitive. This will update automatically. Oop, whoops, no, I don't want the Y to change. I only want the X to change. This will update in here as soon as I key it. So you saw that changed as soon as I right click, key selected. And then that way I can keep control over my animation. You can move this. I just don't recommend it. Right, so I moved it over there, or I move it, you can see it. I'm moving it that way, but it's a little bit less controlled. So we're gonna refrain from doing that. All right. So if you want to change the timing, you come in here, select the item, hold down Shift, and drag this across time. Earlier frame, later frame. Goes quickly, takes longer, goes slowly. That's the general tenor of how this works. Okay, so that's just the basics of the graph editor. There's so much more we're going to get into. You might hear things about tangents and weighted tangents and broken tangents and everything. We will get to that. We want to like take our time and just start off with the basics of the timing of things and, whether it's has any basic ease in and ease out or not.